Hey guys, welcome back to the One Man Show. This is the second part of our podcast with Singapore's only and first UFC fighter, Royston Wee. Now, we pick up the show where Royston is about to make his UFC debut in 2014 at Marina Bay Sands. You know, he's going to fight in front of his home crowd. That's where we're going to continue this podcast. Remember, this is the One Man Show. Follow us on Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, and also Instagram. We are Singapore's first and only fight podcast. Enjoy the rest of the show, guys. Now, let's pull it back now. Fight night, right? MBS, January 2014. You know, Royston, you are going to be Singapore's first UFC fighter. You know, you're going to walk out in front of the crowd. Right? Take us through that walk, man. Take us through what was going through your head when you took the walk, you know, in front of the home crowd. And the UFC is already quite big at that point of time, right? The UFC was very well known around the world, and he's making his debut in Singapore. And, you know, the thing is when the UFC comes in Singapore, you're not only expecting Singaporeans. The whole of Southeast Asia comes down because at that point of time, I think it's their first or one of their first few cards outside of the US and in Southeast Asia itself, right? Yeah. So it's probably a packed house. I'm pretty sure I was there because, you know, I was still working for Fox back then, and I'm pretty sure I had the tickets and I was there. You know, I want to give us your POV, right? From the moment you walk out to the moment where you won, you know, what was going through your mind?
Maybe some of you might not know, but I did say this before that days coming into the fight, I fell sick. I had flu. I had to see a doctor. I was on medication, but I had to hide it, you know. And then when I was in the locker room, so-called partitioned locker room behind, my coaches or those who saw me, I warm up halfway. I had to stop because I was coughing. And then after that, I have to warm up again. So there's a little bit of back and forth. And being in that situation, I was like, what the fuck? Of all times, now I have to cough, I have to catch my breath, you know? And because it is not like okay, behind MBS, right, it's different from like when I fight in Macau or whatever. It's not a room, it's partition. Like, you know how now COVID, right? And then the expo, they partition. It's like this. So I could hear people from other side training, and you hear people like, ha! Ah! You know what I mean? And I was like, doing this.
Strategy, only strategy.
Yeah, like, fuck me, really fuck me. And then the next thing I know, they said, Royston, your time is up. You got to come out. And they're like, oh shit, okay, bam. And then we walk out. And as we walk out, because I'm red, right? And then my opponent is blue. So he was in front of me. I saw him from behind, from quite a distance. And then I was like standing while waiting, right? Waiting for him to get out first. And I was like, I didn't tell anybody, but in my mind, I was like, shit. What the fuck am I doing here? Then I did this, you know. Shit. And it was really crazy. I actually questioned myself few meters away from the cage, away from the crowd. And then he went out. So when he went out, I had to walk forward and wait behind the curtain. And I was like, shit, man. And then my first walkout song was Eminem.
Okay.
It has a meaning behind it. There's a reason why I choose that song. And then when they dim the lights and they play the song, dun, 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 suddenly it was like, you know, when you get hypnotized, I've never tried, but when you watch shows and then when this person hear this cue or this rhythm, suddenly my mind just go boom, and I just got so focused. But I'm focused to a point where it's enough, and I think that is very important. because going into the fight, walking out, getting myself checked, mouthpiece on, Vaseline. I remember every single detail, and I could hear very clearly during the fight what my cornerman is saying, what his cornerman is saying. So I was focused, but at the same time, I was like a very good router or more than, like I could receive
out of the body experience, out of the body experience.
Exactly. Because I think a lot of things, right? Like I always tell my guys as well, is everything you do has to be enough. Too much or too little of everything is not good. So if I was too focused when I was in my first 2 fights, right? I was young. All I tell myself was, I got to train hard. I got good cardio. I have go in, dominate him, and that's it. But I had no psychological training. Even though I finished the fight fast in first round, I was super tired. I couldn't hear. I was tunnel vision. I was so focused. I was tunnel vision. But this one, I was focused, but I wasn't tunnel vision. I could hear everything. I could see everything. So it really felt great. Before, during, and after. I visualized myself what I wanted to do when they introduced me when I was in the cage, when they were saying my name, what actions do I want to do?
Was it Bruce Buffer?
No, it wasn't. It was some guy. Well, first time, right? Bruce Buffer probably was like, you know what, we'll test the market first. Yeah, so it was really good. I never felt so focused, but at the same time, able to be so receptive to everything around me.
I think, just to, I haven't fought in front of thousands or hundreds of people before, but I've read enough sports books to know that this out of body experience is actually a kind of fight or flight switch that people have in them, and it actually comes from the hours and hours of training, because your body just switches on. When it's fight or flight, it decides to fight. When you fought in front of like thousands, you are familiar with this experience, right? How is it for you, Juan?
For me,
no, sorry.
For me, it's like as I'm walking out, I notice everything that's happening. Like I notice who's saying what, who's trying to high-five me, and but somehow everything is like low volume, like almost on a mute, but I can still hear everything. So I'm very aware. So I know what I'm trying to do. It comes naturally. I don't have to force it. In those fights where I lost, I know there are moments like during the lead up, I had to force something. It became like weird. So if it goes with the flow and everything just flows smoothly, then I can sort of get in the flow. I call it get in the flow. Then it's like everything sort of like falls into place naturally, because I think the body has trained itself for so long, so many hours. It knows how to react. It just comes down to your mind, how your mind's gonna like perceive the moment. And sometimes there's no threat at all. But then when your mind puts a barrier, then something that's so easy can become so difficult. But for me, I just try to be in the moment. Like I enjoy the experience. I enjoy the booing. I enjoy the cheering. It just gives me the motivation.
Royston, when you actually went on to win in your first fight, did you notice how the crowd reacted?
Yeah,
because
yes.
I think you had like one of the loudest cheers of the night.
I remembered and I noticed everything. And I think back to what was describing just now, right? In sports science term, that's called in the zone, When we are in the zone, it felt like this. It's very crazy feeling, but exactly like what you were saying. Yeah, but it felt really great. I when I was fighting, I heard people shouting out for my name. Every time the ground and pound and I land an elbow, people were like cheering and stuff. And at the end of it, I got emotional because, it was my first fight, and I won my first fight in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was really emotional, and then you start having lots of people coming to congratulate you. It definitely felt good. Yeah.
Is it true that in the fight you were mostly trying to take him to the ground?
Yeah. So it was a psychological warfare, actually.
Because he was strong at that also, right?
Yes. So building up to that fight, I said in media, I said in every media or even a meetup or interview, I said how much I have trained in my striking, and I'm gonna beat him standing up. I'm gonna bring him to where his weakness is. So I keep repeating that psychological warfare, even way before the fight. Even when I meet him, when I saw him at the lobby, with the fight week and stuff, I purposely walked up to him and shake his hand and smile, and I wanted to play with his mind. When who's the guy's name? When one of the commentators asked me, "So Royston, is there any special things that you train at?" And I suddenly popped this up. I said, "Look out for my flying triangle." and then he leaked this out. So then people were like, "What? He said he was training striking, like he's not gonna bring it to God." And then suddenly there's like a flying triangle. So really, like, I believe my opponent is also gonna source a lot of things about me. And then I just want to play with his mind, because I think a professional fight is very different from any kind of like competition, novice fight or stuff.
It starts way before the bell.
Exactly. And there's a lot of psychological warfare in it. And that is why there is this saying, months before the fight, it is 90% physical, 10% mental. But as we're closing into a fight, it has to be 90% mental, 10% physical. And when you go into the fight, you need to be physically fresh, mentally focused. Because if you are still 90% physical and 10% mental 1 month before the fight, something is wrong with your training. If you need to push hard in your physical just a few weeks before the fight, that means you haven't been training hard before. So the physical work has to be done. But when we are coming nearer into the fight, it is a lot of mental work. It's a lot of strategy work. It's not, now let's practice this kick that we have never practiced before. No. Whatever we have done in maintenance time, we will do it. We learn something or whatever that is. But we build the body strong. When it's coming to a fight, our body is strong, recovered, feeling good. And mentally, we are building up the brain power, strategy, IQ, mental strength, mental endurance, and stuff like this.
Now, Royston, you've won your fight, you've won your debut, you've fulfilled your dream, right? Was it? I mean, the applause and the pundits did come from the look. Obviously, the local media were very proud of you. A lot of Singaporeans were very proud of you. But from the UFC, did anybody come up to you and it's like, hey, you did well out there? I mean, anyone prominent that told you like, hey, you should, do this or do that because you have potential for this and that? Was there anything from that side?
Do this, do that. Nothing. There were, but they didn't say like I should do this or that. They, like the at that point of time, like the president of the Asia market or something like that, and then they did come over and like tell me like you did well, like you really dominated, blah blah blah. But beyond that, they didn't give me like any extra advice like you should do this or that. So yeah, it's pretty much just congratulating me. Yeah.
So when you first signed a contract with them, was it a straight up five fight contract? Or was it?
Yes.
So it was straight up 5 fights.
But so fight contracts. I think in general fight contracts are pretty similar, but for MMA's case, right, you cannot have just a how many fight contract, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It has to be the amount of fights or time period.
Right.
Yeah, because or else, you will be stuck. Yeah, so it was 5 fights or 2 years.
So 5 fights or 2 years. Your next fight was in Macau, right?
Yeah.
Now there was some really big names there also, Bisping, Kong Lee and stuff like that. And at that point of time, you've already had, your first win, your first kind of like establish yourself. Do you get to rub shoulders with more of these guys? I mean, how was it?
It was good. Like you never thought that I would not only see them real life, but I would cut weight with them and really go through the experience. I saw Luke Rockhold, even though he didn't fight in the cup, but he went down. I saw Bisping. Bisping talks a lot, man.
even off.
He is like this. So but what I mean is he is very genuine. I love him. He is very genuine. He talks loud. He is like what he is, but he is a very genuine guy.
I mean, there's a lot of heavy hitters. I mean, you have Tyron Woodley, you have Colby Covington. Obviously, Colby Covington is one of the biggest mouths in the UFC right now.
Yeah.
You actually got to rub shoulders with these guys. How are they like in real life, man? I mean, some of them have personas. I mean, you hear a lot about Covington not being that guy that he's portraying. He's actually one of the nicest guys on earth, according to, Abang Joe Rogan and all that. But you yourself, I mean, you have personal experience with them. How was it?
All I have to say, I saw Kobe 2 or 3 times already. Outside of fighting. Very nice guy. Very nice guy. Very respectful.
I've interviewed him before, and when the UFC was last in Singapore, and when it was so funny because when I asked him, because the thing is, when the UFC comes to Singapore, there's not a lot of media because people fly in from the Philippines and all that, but it's nothing like the US. So they'll have like 5 or 6 fighters, just being on their own, nobody talking to them. And, I saw Kobe and I was like, hey, can we do an interview? And he was like so polite. He was like, yes, sir. Let's do this, man, and stuff like that. And the moment the interview starts, he starts his trash talking. He was like, I'm the best, these guys are, these guys are pussies. They're running away from me, blah, blah, blah. The moment I say thank you so much for the interview, and the camera switches off. He's like shaking my hand. He's like, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I was like, what the hell is going on? It confuses me how he acts, man. But yeah, I mean, he's such a nice guy despite, the persona and stuff like that. And I'm glad to hear that, you yourself had the same experience with him.
Yeah.
How, for you were rubbing shoulders at, as an equal to them, right? I mean, were they like giving you the same respect that you were giving them? I mean, you are a UFC fighter after all.
I think for me, when I'm preparing for a fight, especially in fight week, I don't really care who they are. And I believe they don't really care who I am. Because I'm so focused that I'm not a fanboy anymore. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Especially in the fight week. So I was in the same room, the same card with Uriah Faber and stuff like this. And I love him so much when I was even started training right in the beginning. But when I saw him, I was like, just like this, you know what I mean? Like, hey, can we just take a photo, a quick one? That's it. I don't idolize too much. And probably if like I am not fighting at that point of time, then yeah. So I believe like as fighters, we know when and how to act. We know we will prioritize, but we do acknowledge the presence as well. So all I can say is those guys are the same, like we are there to do what we need to do. cut weight and then fight and stuff like this, and just doing our job. End of the day, it's getting the payday, right? So. Yeah.
Now, I mean, moving forward, you obviously went on to win your second fight also, right? What after winning your second fight, what were your ambitions back then? I mean, the first fight obviously was to prove to yourself that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody saw that you could do it. You became the first Singaporean UFC fighter, the first Singaporean to actually win a UFC fight, and now you're kind of on a roll because you've won 2 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So, what were your ambitions at that point of time?
To be honest, I wasn't like ambitious. Maybe it's very different from what you might hear from like a lot of fighters, but I wasn't ambitious to the point where I want to be a champion. I was more focused in the journey itself. I just want to ride the wave and do my best and, take whatever comes, right? So it might be a bit different from what you hear from maybe quite a number of fighters where they will tell you that, straight up, they're going to be a champion one day, blah, blah, blah. But I really never thought of that, even up till now. I just want to be in the journey, enjoy the process, and of course, do my very best. Yeah. And at that point of time, maybe right after the second fight, I didn't really put much thought into it because I had surgery. I broke my nose and, came to Singapore, then feel that I had to be scheduled for surgery. That fight was really tough for me right in the beginning of the first round. Maybe a lot of people didn't know that. And that is why I had to do what I need to do in the subsequent rounds. To formulate a strategy quickly right away because of unforeseen circumstances. I broke my nose in the first round, but before I broke my nose in the first round, I actually got punched right in my eye. I think my left eye. Yeah, sorry, my left eye. And it was so bad that right in the beginning of the fight, like maybe 1 minute or what, first round, I couldn't see.
Oh.
And I couldn't see for all 3 rounds. And you know how people say like they got double vision sometimes? I didn't have double vision. I had like triple vision. And that is why like if those people who watch the fight and if they look closely, there are times where I was doing this and I was blinking, and when then maybe they thought I was like trying to flirt with the guy.
Yeah, when Ridhwan does that when he fights, he's usually to a guy, so
Yeah, with the mouth action, right?
Clinch me.
Yeah, but then I thought it was like just temporary. But even when I finished the first round, I went back to my corner. I realized I couldn't breathe properly, and I realized like I couldn't see properly. And that is where I know that subsequently the next few rounds I can't strike with him. Mm-hmm. I have to keep close to him because I cannot have one eye. Anything coming from the side, from towards my left, I can't see. And that is why I had to do what I need to do in the strategy to get him down in the ground and pound and to keep him down and to show dominance on the ground. Yeah. So then after that, I had to go for surgery and stuff. And I didn't really like put much thought into like what you said, like ambitious and stuff. Like I said, I just wanted to do what I do best and do well in the journey that I'm in.
So, moving on from that, 2-0 in the UFC, you're undefeated. Confidence must be high. The third fight comes along, and it was in Manila in 2015. Mm-hmm. And, well, unfortunately, you got knocked out. Mm-hmm. So, from the highest of highs, home debut, and then you on a roll, second win, and then your first major stumbling block. Mm-hmm. How did that hit you? mentally? Sorry to bring up the past.
Actually, I want to tell you this, and I think a lot of guys who are not close to me wouldn't know this. Those who are close to me actually know this. Like, you know, like how you say, like, sorry for bringing this up, right? But I will tell you, up till now, even though I lost that fight, up till now, I was never upset.
Interesting.
Even right after I that fight ended, few weeks or 1 week leading down, you know, like that week after a fight is, you know, if you win, it's like that week feels like everything, you don't give a shit, you know, or if you lose, everything seems to be crumbling. It never happened to me. I still feel like a weight off my shoulders. I felt very happy. I felt very satisfied. And I gladly accept the result. The reason is this. Of all the fights that I had before my last fight in the UFC, like I told you just now, I wasn't mentally ready, or I wasn't mentally psychologically very stable preparing for fights. My second fight was terrible as well, because as I was easing in the UFC, the second fight, as I was easing into it, there were some issues. Fight postponed. And then say, let you know when. And then I don't know whether should I pause my fight camp or should I do anything. And then, so I continued training, but lower intensity. And then they tell me, you know what, your fight is in this, you have a confirmed fight in few months' time. And so coming to my second fight at UFC, I was training for a fight camp. One should know, my fight camp was 4 months of hard training.
Oh, it's so long.
You see, if you train, even he said that, because if you train as a fighter, if that is your lifestyle, that means you have been training. Fight camp best is about 8 weeks, plus minus, right? Sure. I was training for 4 months hard. and it kind of really drained me, and I wasn't mentally like really, really, really stable in the second UFC fight. But the third fight, I kind of found my sweet spot. Throughout the fight camp for my third fight in the UFC, I was happy all the time. I was doing my mobility work. I was really flexible. I was really moving well. And the frequency of me being in the zone while sparring, while training was really high. It wasn't all the time, but I felt it a lot of times, very consistently. I was eating right. The training was right. They get guys who were smaller than me, faster than me, bigger than me, stronger than me, smaller than me, faster than me. I could put everyone down with my game, with my style. I could just adapt. Bam, 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 bam. So I was really, really confident. I felt really good mentally and physically. So when I came into the third fight at the UFC, one thing went wrong. Everything was good. But one thing went wrong was because it felt so good, it went so well. Before I was preparing for the fight and during, I bulked up a lot of muscle mass. Yeah, I was really huge for a bantamweight, even bigger than Uriah Faber and stuff.
Oh, even thicker than Uriah.
I was thicker, I was bigger, I was heavier. As a bantamweight, I was walking around at 74 kilo.
Oh.
So, you know, like usually for MMA, because maybe the weight is a bit different in boxing or Muay Thai and stuff, right? But for MMA bantamweight, like we fight 135 pounds, which is about 61.2 kilos.
Oh, that's a lot to cut.
So usually people better weight like around that area, they walk around like 67, max top 68 kilo. I walked around at 74. I walked around and I cut from 70 in 5.5 days.
Oh,
it was drastic. Almost 6 days, sorry. Yeah. So it was really tough for me, and I I made a mistake on that because I felt great. I felt I was big, I was strong, I was fast. I wasn't slow. Mentally, I was there. And so I was like, you know what? All I got to do is just eat well for doing the fight weight and then cut the weight and that's it. But the issue came when I was cutting weight. At first, it was good. Because the first few times into the sauna and stuff, you will shed a lot of weight. But it's like the halfway through, a few days later, midway through the fight week, that's the difficult part. So I started struggling. I started kind of like having flashes.
Oh, that's not good.
And it felt like I almost gonna die. And that is why that first fight that I had in the UFC, I was off half a pound or something like that, a few 100 grams.
So you didn't make weight?
Yeah, I didn't make weight for that. But I really tried. I really, really tried until still the very last second. But I was so dehydrated that my top lip, bottom lip, my gum, and my tongue you can feel it's all separated. You can feel that this is this. You know, now it feels like everything is just normal, right? But it feels like very separated. And I felt like my heart was really like pumping very, very fast. So that was one thing that changed the whole fight. Because even though I was a few 100 grams off after the weigh-ins and then, you know what, let's hydrate back, I had a tough time cutting. I'm not saying this because it's an excuse. Yeah, I lost, you know, it is what it is, right? But I had a tough time recovering in 24 hours. When I was warming up in the locker room, I already knew something was off. I knew it felt like the cramp is coming, but it's not there, kind of thing, in my calf. And your legs are important, man, in a fight, right? So I knew that I need to try my best to try to overcome it. But eventually, he did a good job in slowing me down. And what really stopped me at the very end was that body shot. Okay, she got me right in the solar plexus, and my body just kind of like it shut for like maybe 1-2 seconds, brief moment, and then I knew at the very end I was on my side at the cage, and he was throwing elbows down at me. I knew, I could see it, I knew it, but with the body shot, because when you are tired, your body is dehydrated. It's already hard to move, right? Your muscle. With a good body shot to you on a small glove, it shuts your system down more. So even though I could see it, I couldn't make my body act on it. And that was how I lost the fight. So, like I said, all in all, I did not regret. It was the best fight camp of all. It was the best training of all. Mentally, physically. And the reason why I did not feel upset is because I knew I gave my 200% right before the fight. And the fight is only 15 minutes, right? I think I lost in like second round. The fight is like 10 minutes or less. But the preparation to the fight, the few months, that defines who I am. And I felt great. So I have no regrets. If I didn't prepare well, if I take shortcuts, if I was lazy and I lost, I would hate myself. And I would be ashamed and I would be upset on myself, even when you asked me just now. But I gave my very best.
That's a very good,
It's a good approach.
Yeah, you should take notes the next time you lose, you know?
Oh my God.
Fuck you,
right? But see, this is the fight game. It is not soccer. It's not tennis. It's a fight game. You go in, you train as a team, but you go in as an individual. You go in either one man win or one man lose. So you need to understand that it's not about the winning or the losing. Everybody wants to win. Nobody wants to lose, right? But it's about the process. It's about the 90% that you give in before the fight. You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah, the fight is not 100%. The fight is just a testament of what have been done. Months, hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours of sweat, blood, tears before. But if you did not put that, if you fucking anyhow eat, don't be in time for training, you choose sleep over that particular session, you know you cut corners, and if you lose, then you better be bloody ashamed of yourself. You know what I mean? But if you give your very best, understand that this is a game of hurt, and this is a game of either one win or the other lose.
Yeah.
If you go in, if I just need to win, I just want to win, most likely you're going to lose, and you're going to put a lot of pressure on yourself, and you're going to make the people around you who support you be very uncomfortable as well, because you will put this stress and this anger, this frustration on them as well.
That's actually a really good way to look at it. I mean, but honestly, it must have sucked when, you were down and you couldn't do anything about it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, pretty sure there was a point of time when you were like, okay, I'm going to lose this one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was like, one of my plans was to take him down. And I was like, shit, my legs can't carry me. How am I supposed to drive him? And I will tell you very honestly, because only people who train with me, spar with me in the gym, or I bring them in and stuff, they would know that it is not easy to take me down. I'm not a wrestler, okay? I'm not a wrestler. But it is not easy to take me down. And if you take me down, I will be up like Jack in the Box really fast. And I'll make you pay for it. But at that fight, I can't really get my legs moving as much as I wanted. Again, no excuse, right? But I couldn't do my shots. And if you watch the fight, he took me down once in the round. And I tell you, when he took me down, immediately I got him to a butterfly guard. And I did my wizard control. I prevent him from punching me. And a split second, I kick him out. I straightened my legs, came out, formed a frame, and I stood up really fast, explosive. And I was like, damn, son, I got it. I still got it. But when I stood up, it was different. So maybe like people who don't fight MMA or who don't train MMA. Okay, train is one thing, but who don't fight MMA don't realize this. You cannot see striking as striking, grappling as grappling, wrestling as wrestling, groundwork as groundwork. Because every little thing counts. And every time you go to the ground and you get up, the way you stand physically is very different. It's tiring. Doesn't matter if you are the one on top or if you are the one at the bottom. It doesn't matter. Because every time you go to the ground and get up, go to the ground and get up, go to the ground and get up, it physically is very, very demanding. And I'm talking about taking shots, taking all these things. And it really is tiring. So when I was preventing him from trying to strike me and throw effective strikes when he was on top, I was getting my position, getting my butterfly hooks in. And I waited for the timing for him to hit me so that his weight is off a bit. I kick him out from the frame and I did a tactical get up. And when I take 2 gallop steps back, I felt so heavy. And that, I think, and that is the point where I realized, shit. And he probably, I think if he's smart enough, he probably realized as well. And that's where he started aiming hard for that body shot. If you want to shut someone down who's moving very fast, don't go for the head. Keep going for that body. Or if it's Muay Thai or MMA, keep going for the legs, kick the legs to slow them down. Don't try to outbox them. You get what I'm trying to say? Or don't try to out wrestle them, right? So I guess he was smart on that, and he capitalized on the body shot, and he made me even slower and immobilized me. So that was a good move from him.
I think it's very interesting also to know that, you kind of blame the weight cut for a big reason of why you lost. I mean, when you first, lost to Abunda, you moved down a weight class, right?
Yeah.
There was, you've said about you said about the weight cut before and how you felt affected, but I want to know, was there any point of in that fight where you go like like Royston had that point where he's like, okay, my body's gonna I'm gonna lose this. Did you have any thoughts of that?
I mean, we all know about the weight cut. I mean, I've never been at 55 kilos before, not even as an amateur. And the only reason I agreed to it because my trainer suddenly agreed to it because there was money. We were offered higher money. And then everything was a go. So in the first round, obviously I wanted to win. So when I was punching him, hitting him, moving around very well. But then I got hit. But then the way I reacted was different. Then at that point of time, I was like, damn, this is going to be a long night. Yeah, but I was still determined to win. I still wanted to win. And it's just like, I just know that it's going to be a long night. And then in the corner, they were just pouring ice into my balls just to keep me awake. And the feeling, the diarrhea feeling, when you lost so much weight and you try to hydrate, but your body just cannot accept anything that comes in. And your legs just become very weak. And I got hit a lot in the body. And the only reason I didn't go down is because he said to me, when I wanted to go down, I got hit and I wanted to go down. And he said, "You're going down, boy." Then I was like, "Oh, fuck you, I'm not." That's the only determination. If he didn't say that, I would just have taken a knee. But because he said it, I just refused to give it.
Also, he talked to you when he was hitting.
Yeah, it was like, "You're going down, boy." And I'm like, "No, fuck you." Then I was just like, I'm just gonna stay. If he didn't say it, I would just voluntarily go down. Yes, my lord, I'm going down.
I can imagine one in all his English like, "No lah, fuck you lah."
But seriously, those body shots, those. When he was resting his weight on me, it hurts because it was like I had to carry another weight off me, and it was my first time fighting somebody who is not very amateur, it's not very polite. So there's a lot of veteran ways of getting inside, hitting with the balls, hitting with the blind spot. It makes me very uncomfortable. So it was my first time handling that also. But eventually he did what he had to do to win now. So and he deserved to win.
I think like one kind of said something very interesting, like how he could have gone down on his own from the body shots, but because his opponent talked to him, right, that made him not want to go down, right? I think it's very interesting because this is verbal game, right? Verbal talk. And I think in MMA, I'm not sure if you guys realize this, yeah. In MMA, sometimes, yeah, in the ground and pound, your opponent, who was supposed to finish you and knock you out, is also the one who actually helped you recover. I'm not sure if you saw before, but like in some fights, not all the fights, like some fights like from Pride or UFC or TWF, and they're down, they're punching the guy from the top, ground and pound, and the guy go like boom, and then you clearly see the eyes will roll back and stuff, and then it bounced the canvas, come up. And the guy threw one more, boom, and then he woke up. So he was supposed to be knocked out. That one more shot woke him up, and he actually got up and continued the fight. So that was more physical. One was more like verbal,
Yeah.
It's interesting how sometimes your opponent actually helps you stay longer in the fight.
Yeah, correct. If he just shut up, I would just say, okay, I'm going to rest.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, I think both of you, the defeats had something to do with the weight cuts. I think that's a telling tale on, if any fighters out there is listening, right now, that is a cautious tale, right? I mean, if you were going to move down a weight class and stuff like that, we've heard it again and again, from all the international fighters. But if you're Singaporean and you're a fighter and you're thinking of going down a weight, take it from the two champs here. They know what they've gone through. Now, Royston, moving on from that, did you think that fight was going to be your last fight in the UFC?
Maybe yes, no, but I was like toying with the idea, like yes, no, yes, so like 50-50. But up to the very point, right, and up till now, maybe a lot of people don't know. Again, right? For me, my number one priority was never a fighter.
Okay.
My number one priority was never a fighter. My number one priority goal coming into this sport was being a martial artist. That is what I wanted to be. Before, during, and even till now. Being a fighter is just kind of like a part of the process. Do I want to be a fighter? Okay. I want to be an athlete, but I don't call myself a fighter. You get what I'm trying to say? I think it's very different from what you might probably hear from a lot of guys who fight professionally and stuff like that. But I come off, even till now, my mentality is that I train and I do this because I'm a martial artist. And that is why I think fighting to me is a process. I never loved fighting. It's just that fighting is a process. And just nice, everything was in front of me, right? Okay, let's fulfill my dream. But to do fighting as a lifelong career, it has never crossed my mind, because fighting is a hurt business. MMA, it's you're not going in for fun, you know what I mean? So there is an expiry date, and I would love to go in and come out fast, be healthy, and still do what I love. And that is why I said I am a martial artist first, always, at all times. Because, and I tell this to my guys, when you train not because you want to fight. Train not because you want to improve your fitness. You know what I mean? When you train with such specific deep goals, it comes to a standstill. There will come to a standstill in your training, in your development, in your IQ, in your technical, in your physical capabilities. Or even fitness, right? When you train just for fitness, for example, boxing, right? There are a lot of people who do boxing for fitness, right? But there is a difference between someone who can really box well and know what they're doing, great agility, and some people who just get cross for the whole session, 100 times, 10 sets. You get what I'm trying to say? And that's all they care about. Now, if you were to have just that goal, to me, that's fine, fitness, I just do 100 cross, 10 sets is fine. Then I ask you, isn't it true your progression will come to a standstill? Because that's the only technical capability you have. To be better in your fitness, how about if I learn how to sleep left and right and maybe learn an uppercut, that would increase my fitness. Why? Because I just added new range of motion. Make sense? And that will increase your overall fitness, right? So same thing, it doesn't matter if it's fight or weekend warriors. But when you go into a training and you train for progression development, now that is lifelong. Lifelong. Because if you train for sole purpose, I want to fight, that's why I train. The day when you stop fighting, you will lose all purpose. You will be lost, you will don't know what to do, and then you'll be like, training for the sake of training. But when you train for progression development, now I'm talking about this as a martial artist, and I want to perfect my work. I want to perfect, and I want to do deep study, and really share what I know and what a lot of coaches don't know, a lot of fighters don't know. And then that proves my point that progression development is the most important of all. Be it technical, physical, or mental capability.
I mean, it sounds like you are totally at ease with how things ended with the UFC. It's throughout this whole conversation, I think one of the striking thing that has caught my imagination is you do a lot of things that, as long as you are at peace with yourself, you don't give a fuck about what anybody else says.
Exactly.
I mean, you come from after the fight, you get a call from UFC, and then, wow, they say that they're not going to renew your contract or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Did it ever, come to your head like, maybe I'll go fight for one championship? Were there any offers and stuff like that? Or do you just like, all right, that's my journey in MMA. I've done it all. I went to the pinnacle, right? I got nothing else to prove.
Mhm.
Was it like that?
They didn't call me actually, They emailed me. Oh my god.
It's like a bad breakup.
Oh no.
But they didn't in the email they didn't put a full stop. They said, you know what, we're still interested in your journey.
That's what she said.
And then, they told me like, if I find another promotions and stuff, they will keep an eye and stuff. And when I get my more wins back and everything, and they will want to get me back. So I kept my options open. Actually, I'll be very honest with you. After that, and then a few years later, I always kept my options open. Even though I said I'm not a fighter first, I always come out as a martial artist first. I always still kept my options open, and I still have that fire in me. Why? Because I am still in this industry. I'm still in this sport. I'm still doing what I do, right? So I train guys, not just like weekend warriors. I train fighters, amateur pros, and I corner guys as well. And that's the thing that kind of like make me get itchy sometimes, right? And then I ask myself like, fuck, man, this fucking felt great. I wish I was the one, man. I wish I was the one building that guy up, or with my hands raised, or I wish I had the attention in the training camp. You get what I'm trying to say? So I was struggling, but I wasn't like depression struggling. I was just like, you know what? If there is an opportunity, I will do it. And then coming to your question, were there offers? There were offers the past few years. There were pathetic offers, and then there were pathetic options as well. So I wouldn't name any organization, right? I wouldn't name any organization, but I got promotions from overseas who looked for me. They talked to my boss. I didn't actually know until like the whole thing ended. And it was a casual conversation with my boss. He didn't even bother to tell me.
Who's your boss? Your boss is the gym owner or what?
The gym owner, yeah.
Oh,
but
okay.
he's also a lawyer, so he has his own job as well.
Okay. So me too, I'm a lawyer.
He's a liar.
Yeah.
He's not.
He is.
I'm a con man.
Pretty much.
Hey, you gotta have that talent to
Yeah, of course.
Right.
That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, so basically, so that promotion, fucking hell, they offered me like $100 US to fight.
Exposure.
I won't say which country, I don't even know the name of the promotion, but this lady actually offered like 100 US after I finished fighting in the UFC.
Oh,
After. And that's why my boss said like, it was just a casual conversation. He brought this up, right? But he said, that's why in the beginning I didn't want to tell you because it's a fucking waste of time. And I told him, why not? I gave her another $100 US. Just shut the fuck up and close the fucking promotion. Yeah. So I'll give her 200 USD to shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the pathetic offer that I got. But again, I won't name the promotion, but I have the one coming to one of the promotions here came to look for me a couple of times. They offered me a few times. Actually, they did look for me before the UFC, and they looked for me after the UFC. But I rejected every offer. Yeah, because number one, the money just doesn't make sense to me. The money just doesn't make sense to me. And let me put it this way. Without fighting, I could easily make this amount of money, way more than what you offered me, without fighting. And I live comfortably. So if I have to fight for something that I earn lesser, with the risk of me being on the sidelines after, why would I put myself in that risk?
From what I'm hearing right now, I mean, you want to get back in, but it's just a matter of getting the right offer.
Exactly. So I people who ask me, are you still fighting? I hope to see you back, blah, blah, blah. I tell them that I came off as a trainee, an athlete, and then now a coach, right? But at the same time, on the side, I am very interested in business. I'm very interested in investments. I do my own investments. I have my own portfolios. I like numbers. So I tell people this: when you are young, your passion is here, your passion is really high, but your business sense is really low. But as you stay in this sport long, or when you do this long enough, and as you grow older, it cannot remain like this. As you grow older, and because you do this for a long time, one, you can understand, right? There are times where you can truly ask yourself that your passion is not exactly like the first week of your going into the sport. It definitely diminished. But when the passion diminished, the business sense has to go up, and it will probably have to go higher. Having said that, you cannot have that passion fire totally off, because then you wouldn't love what you do. So I am very thankful that whatever experience I have in my life and whatever I did was, now I'm at a point where my business mindset is up, but my passion is still there. But I have to honestly say, it's not as high as me listening to the same Ultimate Fighter song to the gym and coming back and visualizing myself not that passion anymore. But I told you right at the beginning of this podcast, my passion was what? Shadowboxing at 5 a.m., studying videos, analyzing, deep thinking, and that is my passion as a martial artist for progression development. So then back to your question is, yes, if the money makes sense, and one more thing, the fight makes sense. Present me someone that I wanted to fight, give me that money, let's do it.
Who do you want to fight then? Bonus question.
Is there someone in the local scene that you think can give you a fight?
Wow, this is like the same kind of reaction that one gives me when I ask him who he wants to fight locally.
Local scene?
Yeah, somebody in the local scene you think who can give you a fight. Or a fight that makes sense.
In the local scene,
There are levels to the shit.
I will tell you very honestly, no names came to my mind because I don't see any of them.
Yeah, that's fair. Same.
Locally, I don't see any of them. Number one, I think a lot of them who I know who are competing are not in my weight class. That's number one. Number two, I'm still the best bantamweight MMA guy in Singapore.
Boom.
Even without fighting, no.
For sure. I'm saying this not because I'm arrogant. I'm saying this not because I'm cocky.
See confidence in your preparation.
Over the years,
what you went through.
Yeah, over the years, even me without fighting and me having to coach more, teach more, teaching clients, teaching classes, and teaching fighters, blah blah blah. That goes to show that I'm giving a lot of output and I have very little input for myself. Right? So my training is very limited, but I make sure my training when I do on my own, it's of quality. And when I do those training, I am not as fit, as fast, as strong, as explosive as my guys, competitors who day in, day out train hard and hit the pads and stuff like this, right? But when we come into sparring, it doesn't matter if it's striking or MMA, I bullet them. I'm not saying this in a cocky way. Mm-hmm. I'm older. My physical is not as, my cardio is not as good as them and blah, blah, blah. They may be from national wrestling or whatever, right? I'm not aiming at it. It's not to make me look good, but I not own them. Like I bully them in the sparring rounds. Why? Because I bully them with agility. I bully them with IQ.
Skills.
I bully them with balance, with like one said, with skills. But this is very different again. What I mean, I'm not saying in a cocky way, but this does not mean that I can translate this to a fight, because being technically good is useless in a fight if you are not physically good. You cannot not have both. That's why I keep saying physical, technical, mental. You cannot lose it. These three have to be the core. You cannot say like, I can relax on one. Maybe you relax a bit on technical, that's fine. Mental and physical, you're very strong. But I think like if you ask me out of the three, mental and physical is very important. But how do you train mental is another thing. Mental, we have mental strength, but we also have IQ. How smart are you in the game? Right? Some people just think like mental means, wow, my heart very good. I don't give up.
Yeah, correct. Old school.
It's fucking useless. I don't give a shit how strong you are mentally. I don't give a shit how much heart you have. But if you go into a sparring or go into a fight, standing in front of each other and bang, that's stupid. That's plain stupid. There's no IQ in it. It's as good as a bar fight. And people, I have to say this, everyone thinks that fighting it's normal to get hit. It's normal to get hurt. It's normal to feel pain. We must feel pain. We must embrace the hurt. I think that's stupid. Fighting doesn't have to be like this. If you have IQ, right? Fighting has to be, I hit you and you don't hit me. I play with you. I feint. I show you different looks. Right? It's not about muscle and power and straight up, I got hard, I can bang you and you can bang. Let's do it, bro. I think that's stupid. That's really stupid. Yeah. So that's my take.
So it seems like, if the right offer doesn't come and stuff like that, it seems like the future is set in coaching. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you have any goals and stuff like that? Do you want to hit, as a coach and stuff like that?
Sorry, do I have any goals to?
I mean, as a coach, which is, I mean, if you're not fighting, you're a coach, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, what are the things that you want to achieve, as a coach yourself? Do you?
Yeah. So basically, this is not officially out to the public yet, but I'm actually officially taking over the competition team in my gym. I wasn't the one officially taking over, so I am officially taking over. I'm settling a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and moving forward is I want to build guys up. I want to get them to compete. I want them to be very different from any other fighters for at least, I wouldn't say the whole world, but I would at least say from other gyms in Singapore. And I have proven, I mean, it's easy talk to say like, I've trained this fighter and this fighter is good, right? And this fighter understands how to throw a good hook, right? But I am using my ability to make sure, I don't care if you're a weekend warrior, if you're a fighter, experienced, non-experienced, all of you will throw good hooks. For example, all of you would throw good jabs. All of you would understand the IQ behind this game. So then, when they go out and perform, or when I have never held my guys back or members from going out of gyms. I always encourage. I know like a lot of gym, they have coaches like, fuck that gym, that gym is not good, that gym is. But I have always encouraged my guys to go other gyms and train, because then it will open up your idea. You get you more exposed. If you have learned something good for you, and please share with me. I would love to know what you learned. But if you think that gym is total crap, then also good for you. You just eliminate one gym that you don't want to train in. You get what I'm trying to say? So this is my way of coaching. And when they do well, even they're not fighters, they go to the gym to try to practice. And if the coach says, and I've got guys who tell me, you know what, that Thai coach or that BJJ coach say like, my fundamentals is very good. Like, it made me feel good. Because I was the one who put the time in them. And that was the 90%. All they had to do was go down one session and show that 10%. Same with the fighters. Yeah. So then that's why the way I approach it is a bit pretty different.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to one before this, and he told me that your perspective on coaching is a bit different from a lot of coaches that he knows and stuff like that. But I'm hearing it firsthand now, and it's very interesting how your mindset works in that sense. But I mean, my question definitely would be, why do you think there's no more fighters, Singaporean fighters in the UFC now? And do you think there will be in the future? I mean, I understand from a business standpoint of view. I've been in industry. I work for a company that right now owns the UFC. I work for WME IMG. I know to a certain extent that they kind of are backing away from Southeast Asia right now because, someone else is the big boss around here. I mean, one championship obviously is the biggest thing out of Southeast Asia right now. But then again, if there is quality fighters, in Singapore, why haven't any of us made it beyond one championship and maybe into the UFC?
I guess maybe those who have been in the scene long enough, kind of exactly like what you said, right? Understood the plan, which is, I think Honestly is dominating, at least in Asia or Singapore, right? So maybe I'm more comfortable locally than originally than trying to reach for the sky, right? So I think and as you compare to maybe new and upcoming guys, then they probably wouldn't have that opportunity of that or that kind of exposure to try to get into the UFC. So I think like what you said, the UFC, they know the market well. They know how everything is going on right now, and I think they still want to be in Asia, but more in the China market rather than China, Japan, Korea, rather than in Southeast Asia. So it's a little bit obvious that they're pulling a little bit away from that. But who knows? End of the day, who knows? Try not to look at things in the short term perspective. But I mean, I know we all have age, we all will grow old, but those who are younger understand this. Look far. It's a marathon, because one day you will not know. Maybe the things will change and UFC will be back in Southeast Asia dominating. Who knows? Because maybe they back away now because they know that one is controlling the local market, right? Southeast Asia and all. let them do it. Let them do it. Let them build the guys up. Let them give those guys experience. When those guys' contracts are up, eventually we are ready to come back in Southeast Asia. Who knows? So I say to the new guys, always keep your hopes up. But end of the day, do not train because you want to fight. Always train for progression development because this is lifelong. Lifelong.
Brilliant. I mean, before we wrap up, my last question to you is that, is there anybody out right now, any Singaporean MMA fighters that who's the fighter that you like watching and you think has the potential to go the furthest out of, we have a few now. We have a few MMA fighters now.
You mean Singaporeans?
Yeah.
Who would I think would do better, is it? Or?
I mean, who do you think has the potential to actually go far? It seems like, is this pause because there's too many names or because there's too little names?
Okay, let me say this. Even after I say it, do understand that to be honest, if I were to put it bluntly, I don't give a fuck to any of them. All right? None of them affects my life and none of the things I do affect their lives. So if they do good, it's really good for them. I'm always neutral. They do good or bad, I don't really care, but well, good for them. But based on my opinion, I haven't. There isn't a single name I can think of. If I'm being brutally honest, in MMA, zero. Yeah.
Well, you should be brutally honest. I mean, that's why we have shows like this, right? I mean, you're the pioneer. I mean, we have Singaporean One Championship champions, but Singaporeans will question whether they're really Singaporeans or not in the first place.
Oh,
I mean, that's the truth, right? I mean,
yeah.
It is what it is. It's you just check their Wikipedia page, just check where they're born, where they're raised, and stuff like that. It's spicy stuff, but we're truthful. I mean, Ridhwan was born in Yishun. We can say that he's Singaporean for sure.
Yeah, I was born in Hougang.
Oh, you were?
To be honest, right? Just now when you asked me, is there any Singaporean that came to my mind? Actually, the siblings didn't came to my mind. Yeah. Oh, that's why I say none. Yeah, because I don't think that they were Singaporean.
Yeah, I think it's not even a biased answer because you don't even say somebody from your own gym. So it's not biased. So
yeah. I really wasn't being biased, and people who know me well knows one thing is I am always a very objective guy. No matter how bro you are with me and stuff, but when it comes down to business, I'm always very objective, and I think it's very important, especially when it comes to coaching.
True.
Yeah.
I think it's. I mean, just to wrap things up right now. I mean, first and foremost, it's. Thank you so much for being on the show and actually sharing with us, your journey in MMA,
it's an honor.
in UFC. You are so far the first and, from my information, the only Singaporean UFC fighter, and you went beyond whatever was expected of a Singaporean fighter by actually winning two fights, which is such a great thing for such a small and young nation like us who are just starting to embrace fight sports. It's a great milestone to actually have a UFC fighters. Not all countries in the world have UFC fighters. We have one. He has 2 wins, one loss.
And now we can say you have a UFC fighter on our show.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most important thing to us. But I think one of the things that's also important is now we have a UFC fighter who is a coach in Singapore. Because I think one of the things that has halted progression of fight sports is the quality of coaching in Singapore. You are obviously trying to change that. I know one is also known as one of the best boxing coaches in Singapore. He has the experience to back it up. Like, this is the thing. Now we have people with the experience to teach, right? We have world champs, we have UFC fighters, we have one championship fighters. You know, we're starting to become a nation who actually have coaches who have experience instead of just holding pads and like, you know, hit here, hit there. And I'm pretty sure both of you know, that have seen your fair share of fake coaches and stuff like that. But, I'm really glad that we have you now, to lead the MMA coaching, to hopefully progress all our fighters, on the boxing side, we have people like Juan and stuff like that. And on the podcast side, we have us, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and I really appreciate you for all your honesty. I'm going to be one of those suckers and say that I hope to see you fight again. but on top of that, I'm going to be a bigger sucker by saying that any fight organization listening to us, we have listeners in the thousands. If you know, or if you are working for an MMA organization, fork out the cash. Let's see our former UFC fighter fight again. I mean, a lot of people who are in the fight sport now didn't even get the chance to see you when you were fighting. I mean, it's gonna be awesome to actually see someone from the UFC fight. That is forever going to be your title, just like how one is forever the number 2 pound for pound fighter in Singapore these days is still number 1. It's a great honor to have you on, Royston. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Royston.
I appreciate what you've done for the country, even though, there's haters and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to appreciate what you do for the future of MMA in this country. If you have any parting words, this is your chance.
Firstly, thank you very much for having me on your podcast, and I really appreciate the real talk. And I just want people who watch this or who even bother to listen everything to understand from where I'm coming from, not as a fighter as well, but as a coach as well, right? There are many levels to coaching. I'm saying this out there to not bring down other gym coaches or stuff like this. And people should always understand this. People are always mixed up. It's good marketing. It's good promotion to say that our coaches were ex-champions, were how many title holders, blah, blah, blah. That is good marketing. Good fighters does not equate to good coaches. Again, good coaches does not equate to good fighters. But what is the balance? You need to understand this. It's not about just hitting pads and getting tired and feeling good. That's just a feel-good factor, but that's not the truth. So I hope everyone out there, if you train combat sports, look for a good gym, look for a good coach. But if anytime you find that the coach is exploiting you, or is asking you to do more burpees and push-ups than actually asking you to throw a jab cross or teaching you to throw a kick, you might as well find a fitness trainer. So be wary of who you train with.
Cool. And if any of our listeners want to, learn under a former UFC fighter, yes, we have a UFC fighter. Where can they find you, Royston?
I have a website. It's www.roystonwee.com. So that's my own official website. They can email me from there, or they can check out my Instagram account, Royston Wee MMA. They can DM me, and then we can move forward from there. But primarily, I am at Impact MMA teaching most of the time. You can go for classes, or if you want private training, you can also look for me.
Yeah. Brilliant. Juan, do you have anything to say to wrap this up?
I just want to say that I hope Royston has updated his Spotify list, your music playlist. No more than just one of the TUF songs.
On where?
I hope you have updated your music playlist, not just that one song.
I was actually shocked that he didn't say that it was a KTV song.
Yeah, anyway, I'm just happy and glad to see a fellow fighter enjoying life, living, inspiring others, motivating me as a person, as an athlete, as a coach. So I'm blessed to have you on our show. And for the rest, I just got to say that the teacher will show up when the students are ready. So keep working, guys.
Keep working.
Brilliant. All right, guys, we are the One Man Show, the number one fight podcast, the only fight podcast in Singapore, despite one being the number 2 pound for pound fighter in Singapore. This podcast was meant to be an hour long, but it has gone on for 2.5 hours because we have such
It was
a
so
great
good.
time.
Yeah. So good.
Thank you for listening to us all the way until the end. Do follow us on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook also. We appreciate all the support. Stay safe out there, everyone. And take care of yourself. This is the One Man Show. We're out.
I could hear people from other side training, and you hear people like, ha! Ah! You know what I mean? And I was like,